Hello, I'm your host, Leonard Duncan. Welcome to a new episode of ATV-TALK and Motorsports Podcast. Please join us every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We bring you interviews with industry professionals, live events, live news about the motorsports industry in every episode. Enjoy the show. Don Higbee, welcome to ATV-TALK. How are you, sir?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, Leonard.
Hey, no problem. This has been a long time coming. Not only did I get to work with teams that raced against you, you've been doing this for a long time, and I probably should have had you on the show years ago. I apologize for the delay, but I'm glad you're here now.
Yeah, looking forward to spending some time chatting with you. It should be a good time.
Excellent, excellent. You still living in Wyoming?
No, we moved out of there. I sold off my power sports dealerships here roughly 5-6 years ago, and we're down in Lake Havasu City.
How are you liking the drastic weather change?
Loving it. If I never see snow again, I'll be happy. Wyoming was a beautiful place. It was a great place to raise our daughter, and certainly miss the people. But we've been vacationing down here, I think, for about 9 years, so it was nice to make that move.
Nice. That's pretty awesome. Why don't you introduce yourself and let everybody listening get a better idea of who you are?
Sure, yeah. Don Higbee, again, based out of Lake Havasu City, Arizona, via Wyoming and Wisconsin prior to that. So Midwest boy through and through. And just started out in the early days racing BMX for years and years. And then you get to be 18 years old, and there's all kinds of other activities during that phase of your life, and got out of that a little bit. Did some ice oval snowmobile racing, and then kind of migrated into dirt track, oval, and TT. Ran the national series for a couple of years back east, and then got
not to interrupt you, but what kind of machine?
Back then I had would have been a KFX, the KFX platform. LTZ Suzuki platform, basically. And we built a 510 stroker motor for it. So ran the open class and you name it, had all the minus smaller swing arms on it. And that was a great time. Great group of people back in the days to do that with. And got to share it with my daughter. She actually raced that for a couple of years when she was 5 and 6 years old. And that was a neat experience.
Nice. You also got to do some GNCC stuff also.
Yeah, absolutely. We did. I did a full year in 2013 and 2015, and we're back doing it this year again as well. So the full schedule.
And you're running what class back there in this year?
I'm in 40 plus 4x4 senior.
Oh, you're not going to go and jump into the pro class?
No, geez, Leonard, it's amazing. I was told, back in 2014, 15, those type of years, always on the lead lap. Never would the pros get by me, in a lapping situation. It's changed so much. I know you talked to Cody Collier quite a bit, and when those couple of front running pros get by me, it's changed. The game has changed so much out there in the trees. Those guys flat out get it. It's unbelievable how fast they're going. And of course, I've gotten slower as I'm 57 now. But that pace is unbelievable.
So you're building the Can-Am 1000 platform for GNCC and the desert?
Running a little bit different setup. We're still running the G2 chassis, as they would call it, Renegade back on GNCC, kind of that tried and true platform that we've run for years. We're on the new platform, the Generation 3 for the desert this year. So completely different chassis. No more trailing arms, went to a straight independent, and a completely new motor package in it. So it's been a learning experience, and it's proven to work out well for us so far.
Well, we're going to get into that a little later in our conversation, because I got to ride that Gen 3 and I really enjoy it. But I want to talk more about your career before we go jumping into that. You've been around racing for a number of years. Earlier than 2004, or is that basically where it started?
That would have been the start. 2004, 2005, started out doing a little bit of ice racing in Wisconsin, then that flat track and TT.
How did
Was
you find ATVs?
just, I think trying to think of I think the first machine I bought would have been an '02, like a Kawasaki Prairie or something like that. We had a great trail system up there in Wisconsin. Like that, just happened to go out and watch an ice race one day, and I said, "Hey, it looks like fun. I want to do that," and
On
started
your
building.
Kawasaki Prairie.
Correct, on the KFX.
Okay, you did it on the 400 model.
Yes. So
Okay.
just got into that a little bit, and liked the utility stuff. And when we moved out to Wyoming, we purchased some dealerships in 2007, 2008. And then one thing led to another. Obviously, out there in that great terrain like that, started to run a lot of the 4x4 stuff around. And I think the first race we did cross country wise is we went back and did that Heartland Challenge like in '09, if I'm not mistaken,
Oh,
and
wow.
just got bitten by the bug.
And what did you think of the Heartland Challenge?
Oh, loved it. Always a great race. Raced it numerous times, both on teams and Ironman did a couple of times as well. And great format. I like the endurance stuff.
That's outstanding. Now, the big question is, being that you're from the Midwest or the eastern side of the country, how did you find the desert?
It was pretty much just when we moved to Wyoming. That terrain there is very, very, very similar, at least down at the on the not up at elevation, but when we're at 5,000 and 6,000 feet in Wyoming, it looks very much like I'm looking out my window right now. So same type of terrain. And the first one we would have done is I just literally grabbed a Can-Am Renegade off of the showroom floor. I think I put some fast bars on it, some lights, and just went out and soloed Vegas to Reno. That was my first desert race.
What
And,
year was that?
2010, 2011.
Oh, wow. So you've been playing with the desert for a number of years.
Yes.
All
And
right.
we'd alternate back and forth. Sometimes go back east and do GNCC. This is one of those years where we're doing both, a couple of series and doing it all in one year. But yeah, we've done a lot in the desert.
You keep your machines back east for the ones that you're going to ride back there, or do you bring them with you to the west and then drive them back? How does that work?
No, no, very, very fortunate. Brian Buchanan and his family take that machine, and John Rogers also helps and preps it every other week for me. Gets it clean, gets all the mud off of it, and I appreciate them doing that. And David Jesse built that machine for me. He's at the races as well, helping. So just have a good support structure. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, you'd have to. I mean, so you build your West Coast machines here, and your East Coast machines are all done back there.
Yes, yeah. Jeremy Gray takes care of the build or the prep workout here for me. I've got a super busy work schedule, and very grateful that he does that for me. And then my old dealership did some engine stuff for me at Driven Power Sports and Marine. Chris Ralph put a fresh engine in it for us, and again, just a great support structure. Couldn't do it without those folks.
That's outstanding. And you are racing the whole GNCC series or just part of it?
The whole thing. I missed the first round, but we should be at. We've done the last 8, and what do we have? We've got 4 more to go.
Right, 4 more to go. Summer break right now.
Mhm.
Kids are out of school. I don't know why they don't race during that time to help some of the families out. But then again, vacations and other things, uh, you know, boggles my mind. But it is what it is, right?
Yep. Yeah, looking forward to the second half for sure.
So as we evolve through your career, you know, you're not focused on just one thing. How does the development of that 1,000 platform go for you riding in the desert and cross country? Are you learning things about both that you can use in both environments, or is it totally different worlds and there's no crossover?
There's really no crossover in these chassis. I know you said you had a little time on the G3. That independent suspension is completely different. The clutching on this new one, they went to a P drive clutch, and for the primary, that's different. So any of the settings that we had on that G2 that we used to run in the desert, like the one that's pictured in my backdrop, Those are out the door. Everything's different on it. So we're learning a bunch. For instance, on this new one, we feel like we're a little narrow. We're going to kick the thing out 4 inches wider here coming up in the future, change the offset a little bit and get it just a little bit lower to the ground. We're just a little bit too top heavy when we're running 85 miles an hour, 90 miles an hour with that thing. So,
you know, I want to ask some other questions about that machine and the development. I keep getting ahead of myself because I'm so interested in how the development is going to go, because out of the box, I thought the machine was outstanding for a 4x4, and I'm not a guy that's, really what you would call somebody that's super knowledgeable about 4x4s. I can ride ATVs, but when you jump on a 4x4, especially that one, it's a totally different world. So I just was kind of wondering. So I'll finish asking my other questions, and then we'll have a long discussion on the development of that Gen 3 chassis versus the Gen 2. What challenges were there for you owning a dealership, and then juggling a family and racing? How did that work out?
Yeah, it's a lot, and it's honestly it's the employees. Those folks at the shop. I couldn't have done any of that without them, and my wife and daughter, of course. My wife back at the store when I was gone, but it was that support structure and the folks that I had working there. There were years when we did a full GNCC schedule and a full best in the desert, or a full best in the desert and a full score series. So that takes a lot, and it even to this day, it comes back to I've got a great team at work. I'm the director of dealer sales for Super ATV. I came out of retirement. That only lasted about 6 months after I sold my dealerships, and I couldn't do it if I didn't. I couldn't take the time off if I didn't have the solid team like I've got. So I appreciate that support structure.
Wow, it seems like you have a large group of people that are backing you and helping develop the program as well as keep the program on track.
Absolutely, we do. It's and it's a lot of just the travel for the races is a lot, and I'm on the road 3 weeks out of the month in the field, visiting dealers, working with my team. So it's constant travel, and I always say if my wife supports it wholeheartedly, or it wouldn't work.
Oh, yeah, with your family background, I mean, I'm not sure where we want to go with that question, but does your wife travel with you for any of the support or for the races or anything like that?
No, she doesn't. She came out of retirement too, so she's full time. She gets to them occasionally. She'll come to some of the bigger ones, like she'll probably come to Ironman at the end of GNCC. Probably come to the final round of Legacy as we're finishing stuff up. But she didn't go to the 1000 here. She likes to go, but Leonard, she said, when I take vacation, she goes, let's go somewhere. Let's go to Cabo, or let's do something. You go do your thing with the guys and the team, and when it's time to relax, we'll go relax. So it works out well.
So how much of your racing is actually passion versus work?
It's passion, certainly. We do mix a little bit of work in there. It's fortunate when I get to go to some of these events that we do have dealers that are there, can visit with them, and do some business at the same time. So that is helpful. Occasionally, like at the GNCCs, we'll set up a display type of a thing and chat with the fans and dealers that are there about our products.
That's so cool that you develop a whole passion work program around that model and let it grow, and it grows its own legs. Plus, it's the best 4x4 machine for the GNCCs that I can see, and it's starting to make its way west.
Yep. Yeah, it was pretty interesting at the 1000. We had what, 3 or 4 4x4s, and you never see that. So that was overall, it is starting to make a push, because you can see that these things are very competitive in both segments, back east in the trees and out west in the desert.
Yeah, they go way faster, and guys like Cody Collier and Brandon Frazier make them look so incredibly nimble and fast. it blows my mind watching the videos.
Yeah,
I
I always,
see videos of the desert machine as much as I do the cross country stuff. Generally, there aren't a lot of people out there filming you. That's probably why.
Mhm. Yeah, the videos of those guys are great. Their camera setup they have, and I always laugh for that brief, uh, about 10 seconds when Cody or Brandon Fraser or whoever comes by me. It's simply amazing how fast they're going in that tight space.
It is. It is. You know, you're 57 years old. You've been racing for 20 plus years. What keeps the passion or the fuel burning inside of you to continue to race at the level you do and compete? I mean, how do you keep how do you keep that fueled?
Yeah, that's a great question, Leonard, because I've kind of retired from it a couple of times, sold off my program, and I always get back into it because I know that's where my passion is. Um, Again, back to the teammate. The team loves to go ride, be it at GNCC, the people I hang out with there, or out here in the West. There's just still a lot of excitement. Like, Don, let's go race. Come on, let's get something together. Let's go make a run at this thing. So some of it's the younger guys keeping me younger. I'm fortunate I can still do it at this age. It keeps me in shape, in this. When I decided to jump back into this here a couple of years ago, I dropped 65 pounds, got down to 165 pounds. I feel better than I ever have. Certainly not as fast as I was before, but I can still hang in there. And it just I think fortunate that I can still do it. And I have fun. I enjoy it so much. I think as I do get a little bit older, I like the logistics part of it too, Leonard. I like getting everything organized. As you know, that pit strategy you can win it or lose it there. And I feel we do a really, really damn good job with it. And again, proud of what we put together on that piece of the program.
So, as you build the program and you keep them structured, do you have riders or people in place to take over when you finally hang up the boots?
No, I had we've got a great group. We've got Gilbert Davila, we've got Quinn Harrison, a bunch of other folks, Matt Horton and Dina Horton. They helped us last time. Jeremy and his family. No, I don't. I don't know who would carry it on. I plan to keep going with it for a while, as long as I can. I'll know when it's time. And I think when I do hang up the riding piece, I'd still like to keep the machine going and field something from time to time because I just love being around it. I always joke, and as I'm sure you know, none of us ever get to leave this industry. We're here forever, so we might as well enjoy it.
Yeah, it's kind of in my lifeblood. I can't see me not being involved in some type of ATV sport somehow. You
Mhm.
know, whether I become a uh, enthusiast again on the sideline or continue building machines. My riding days are at a serious level are pretty much over, but still a little bit of testing, now and again. But I still love it. I think building a machine is more fun than riding it. Are you looking for the best suspension technology for your sport ATV? Look no further than Elka Suspension, the industry leader in sport ATV suspension technology. With championship wins in prestigious events such as the Dakar Rally, Score, Best in the Desert, ATV MX, Cross Country, and Works, Elka Suspension has established itself as the go-to choice for athletes and enthusiasts alike. But they don't just stop at ATVs. They're constantly expanding into new markets, including UTVs, trucks, SUVs, pit bikes, snowmobiles, and more. Their commitment to innovation and quality means they're always looking to improve and adapt so you can enjoy a smooth ride wherever you go. Want to learn more about what Elka Suspension can do for you? Visit their website at elkasuspension.com or give them a call at 450-655-4855. They will always be happy to answer your questions and help you find the perfect suspension solution for your needs. in my opinion. But it is because I am a little older now. I want to really sit down and ask you some serious heads up questions. Renegade platform, the Gen 2, the Gen 3, the Renegade for that model hasn't hit the market yet, to my knowledge.
Hopefully August 17th when they announce the new models.
Well, let's hope.
Mhm.
I don't know how much contact you've had with Cody Collier or any of the guys back east that have ridden the Gen 3 chassis and want some upgrades or things to change. But what are you looking at if you're going to go to the Renegade, if it's a Gen 3, what are you looking to modify? Because you're already experiencing things with this chassis, the clutching, the engine, so on. The chassis basically is what I'm asking about.
Yeah, and I do talk to Michael Seegers back there that does Cody stuff for him, and then of course Rob Smith has been running or working on that G3 platform for a couple of years out of B&R Motorsports. So a lot of back and forth between us trying to learn. It's that motor package is completely different. It's a one-piece engine and transmission, so it is shoehorned in there, and you can't even get the barrels off of the motor in the chassis. The whole thing's got to come out. So it's kind of a beast to work on. It's like anything though. You get procedure down, you get used to it once you figure everything out. You install a few shortcuts here and there to make access a little bit easier. That's some of the stuff that we've been doing. It seems very sensitive from an ECU perspective. You've got that oxygen sensor now in the pipe. So that's going to be a must when tuning that ECU, making sure that oxygen sensor's in there. Right now, we're just running a stock exhaust Leonard. I'm very big at making one singular change at a time. I'm probably too conservative in that regard, but I want to see what each thing does and run it race to race. One of our keys is finishing, and I want a stable platform.
Yeah, that's super smart. That's like when you tell people to build something and they ask you about, the things that they can do. Doing a platform setup where you can test each item is a great setup.
Like on the ECU, all we've done to that so far is just unlock the speed limiter on it. And we saw, we got 11 miles an hour out of that. Now we'll start messing with it a little bit more, just one change at a time.
Have you got into the clutching?
We have not. We just ran bone stock. Next thing we're going to do is just run high altitude weights in there. So we'll lighten those up a bit. Most everything we run out here up to the north is 5,000 foot or more. And Can-Am just has some lighter weights for it. We're going to try that next. And it got at the 1,000 when we were in that 7,000 to 8,000 foot range, pulling some of those longer roads up into there. It was lugging a little bit. Those lighter weights should help us quite a bit.
Right. Do you run a special tire setup? I know back east they're running either blocks or balls. Do you run anything like that in the desert?
100%. Yeah, we've been running tire spines for years. Super, super solid part of our program. Just never have to. We changed one out. We changed one tire and rim at the 1,000 just because we saw we had a pinch flat. And I don't like I don't like the feel with high air pressure, but I've got to continue to go up. Heck, we were running 8 pounds, I think. Got some pinch flats at Parker. I went up to 13. I think I need to be in that 15 to 18 range, and that should eliminate some of those sidewall punctures. So we'll do that. And again, the tire spines has just been, I know for a fact we've gone 325 miles on a flat before, just wide open, and it hasn't disintegrated in there. So Steve Mueller and his team have done great getting us set up with those.
Well, yeah, with 1,000-pound machine, not destroying a tire almost immediately when you get a flat, that's pretty incredible. That's a testament to you guys are doing your homework and making it work out. As far as engines, you talked about it being shoehorned into the frame. Everything that I've been told and everything that I read, those motors are extremely reliable. Are you finding something different than the guys back east are? I know you're running them at a higher speed, maybe some different RPM ranges. is there something that they need to look at to make them more durable?
We had a mechanical at Parker. I think I got one of the very first machines probably that was produced. I mean, I ordered it the night that thing came out into my old dealership. We had a little bit of a mechanical on that. It's resolved. And, I don't know this for a fact, Leonard. I think when these days they to pass emissions, I think coming out of the factory, it's my belief that things are set up pretty lean, to pass emissions, and to get the horsepower numbers out of those things. So when you're at elevation, and you're running hard like that, we're just taking some precautions. I don't think it's necessary, but we're running 50-50 race fuel, 100 and then 91 unleaded in there. And that takes care of any issues, in my opinion. So I know it's been very, very solid back in the GNCCs. Rob Smith's been running. He ran a 700 last year, and he's on a 1,000 this year. It's been a real reliable machine. So, Can-Am did their homework with it, and I think the consumer is going to be extremely happy with that platform.
Well, I know I rode mine really, really hard when I got a chance to go back, or up to Canada and ride. I pulled no punches. I rode it as hard as I could, and kind of wrung its neck, and didn't even miss a beat. Didn't skip. I tried all the power modes, and they tell you don't intentionally try to break it, but I tried to ride it as hard as I can for a guy that's 58 years old, and is totally used to sport quads. I had a ball. I thought it was fun. I thought that taking it to a couple different environments to ride it would be even funner. You guys are taking what they have as a utility platform and taking it to the desert and racing it. What other changes do you make? I mean, I'm sure you remove the racks and maybe change the fenders around, but other than that, what other changes do you make? Do you change the shocks?
Yeah, that had stock shocks on it, and we had Rob at B&R basically made them into Fox 2.0s, fully adjustable. So that's a must. Nothing more important, in my opinion, than a good suspension, no matter where you're racing. So we did that. We did force a little bit more air into the clutch setup. Put a big nozzle coming right up by the cluster, by the dash, to get as much ram air coming down into there, because we were seeing some pretty high belt temps. But again, we didn't baby that thing at the 1,000, and it never broke a belt, never touched a wrench. I think this entire machine runs cooler than that G2 does. They did a real good job with just closing off everything around that engine. One would think that that's a bad idea and that it's holding heat in, but there's just a lot of plastic pieces that are diverting air into all different types of areas. And that area around where your legs go down by the seat, there's too big. I mean, it's completely enclosed on there. So like, even when you're sitting on that machine for long periods of time, you don't feel that engine heat like you did on the G2. Also, we haven't plugged into buds yet to see what type of temperatures we were running overall on the machine. It just seemed cooler. Every time I looked down at that temp gauge, it was well below halfway. And I know on my G2, we were always pushing that limit out there in the desert. That thing would get really, really hot. So again, a great improvement by Can-Am.
Well, you mentioned that the ECU tuning, as well as I do, everything that comes in this country, they lean it out for emissions reasons. Mm-hmm. That's why there are ECUs built for other models. It seems like it would be almost a mandatory must to give this thing more fuel, mm-hmm. A, to increase the reliability, and B, to drop some of the running temperature. And if you ran a real race gas, it would be even better, because 100 to 102 octane is still chemical fuel, just like pump gas.
Yeah, we'll be going to a pipe and then doing some fuel stuff on the ECU. Those are going to be a couple of the changes that'll be next. We'll have that implemented here probably for the Virginia City race. Virginia City to Tonopah, I believe it is this year. So that's where we'll run that. We've got PATV out of Texas, does a lot of work with turbos. They've actually got one on one of these G3s. Of course, they're in the mud environment. But that's something that'd be very interesting to try in the future. That's kind of pushing the limit there with potential reliability, but I'd sure like to try it one day and see if we can break that triple digit mark on that thing.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Will you have to get into clutching also? Because definitely your
100%.
clutching is what ultimately is going to limit your mile an hour, correct?
Yeah, 100%. It's you're going to hit peak horsepower or peak RPM and peak horsepower on that thing. And we believe that right now, the way it stood, we were seeing 90 mile an hour. That was at about, I think, about 5,500 foot elevation is the top we saw. And we were running mid 80s with it in a lot of the other elevations. It's probably the limit with that machine right now, because again, we were at peak RPM slash horsepower at that topped out. So at that point, we're going to need to do fuel, pipe, and then continue to change that clutching to squeeze a little bit more out of it.
The guys I talked to, Elijah and Brett, we talked in our pre a little bit about that for a second. You go out there against the guys that are running the 1Q and you put it to them and you beat them. How does that make your team feel being on what people call a machine that's inferior to go out and beat the
Yeah.
performance sport ATVs in their environment?
Yeah, those two guys are relentless. They're such awesome guys. Their whole team is. It's just fun racing against them. A lot of good ribbon back and forth amongst us. It felt really good. We've beaten them before. They've beaten us certainly. But it was super special, Lauren. I always joke around. I say, yeah, I'm the king of second place. I've got a lot of second places, and we've certainly got championships as well. But to win that big one like that and the inaugural one, it feels good. They know that those guys know that platform gets with it and that we can make it happen. I think the ones we chuckle a little more at is those dirt bike guys. We were running with 240 miles to go. We were running third overall against the dirt bikes at that. And we made the conscious decision to peel it back and just try to maintain our 30-minute gap over Brett and Elijah. But there was a very good I think we could have got it on the box overall. It's fun beating those dirt bike guys. I
Oh yeah.
think they do not like us out there with that thing. Those that have been stuck behind us. It's like being stuck behind a trophy truck. It just throws rocks and dust like no other. But again, it's a competitive machine.
Well, in 2017, 18, and I think 19, we ran out there. I was working with the Simmons boys, and you
Mhm.
were out there running. And in 17, we finished behind you guys in the points. And so you beat one of my platforms. And, I have to tell people that, well, I got beat by a Can-Am 1000 as well. So there is, hats off to you guys for making that platform so good. you know,
Appreciate it.
in 18, 19, and 20, we figured it out and dialed it in and it got to win those titles. But still, uh, you guys are no slouch because every time you have a bobble or you look back, there you are every time.
Yeah, we've always just tried to stay consistent. I look back over this time frame. I can think of I've got out of all of this racing for all these years, 3 total DNFs. One was snowshoe GNCC. I tore the rear wheel off on a tree.
Oh,
Another one was Baja out that race in Tijuana a few years ago. Just a fluke water pump bolt busted because we hit a rock. And then here in Parker this year. So I think those are pretty good odds. And sometimes I feel like we're being a little bit too conservative, but we always want to be there at the end.
right. Well, there's nothing wrong with being conservative, if it benefits you, and it seems to be benefiting you, and your program is developing, great results. So I wouldn't worry about what anybody thinks. Like, you keep doing what you're doing because it seems to be working out. Speaking of Baja, I passed up talking and asking you about your Baja experiences. How many times have you raced down there, and are you thinking of going down again?
Yeah, I started off in 2013, and I Ironman the 1000. So that was where I just went all in right away. And went went to do the whole thing myself, and then we did a full season in, I don't know, basically 14, 15 through about 19, 2019. And we were going to go back this year, and it just didn't pan out. Some work things. I'd like to get back down there. It's tough, Leonard. We threw everything but the kitchen sink at that for years. We won the expert title in 2014, and then we moved up to pro for all those other years. And when we go, I mean, we want to go to win. And we just cannot beat those guys down there. We tried everything. I think we put the best people we could think of on that machine over the years. And whether it be Francisco Vera or Felipe Velez and those guys, it's got a lot of second places behind them. And I'll just be straight up. I don't think we can win down there. So it'd be more of just an adventure and a fun and experience type thing.
Do you think that the platform is going to progress to make it more competitive? I'm assuming that one of the drawbacks is the whoop sections, because some of the whoop sections that you have to ride through there are just brutal on any type of machine.
Yeah, we'll do great in the washes, Lauren. Obviously, out on the flat stuff, we do really, really well. It's that stuff around San Felipe primarily. We do good with that machine coming up through Mike's, that type of terrain around the backside there. Thing's made for that. But that 35 miles through San Felipe, we just get dusted.
Yeah, that I believe it, because
it's too much to stay on top of them. There's certain sections that you can, but it's just a lot of this kind of horsing it through there and trying to stay steady.
Yeah, you got to put your strongest person on the machine that can ride through it to even think about having any type of success, because it's just brutal.
Yeah, we would typically try to put, Jeremy on that for that area, or like Jose Torres, who's a local to there and knows those sections real well. And those guys did a great job. But compared to those 450s when they're just skipping across the top of it, but we can't get there.
Well, plus you got guys down there that are pre-running it, and they're riding those sections when they're not having races, because that's how they're testing their suspension, and they live right there. So it's kind of tough to beat them.
Yeah, it is.
Man, that's pretty cool stuff. Back to the Gen 3 platform. If it comes out on the Renegade, will you still be thinking about making it wider? And is it going to make the machine faster being in the Renegade platform?
We'll have a little bit of weight savings there. I'm not convinced I'll switch over to a Renegade in the desert out here. I like on the Outlander that I can, there's plenty of room for tools or a spare belt, those types of things. And we've got that quick fill gas tank on the back that's all integrated in. Be a little bit harder to do that on that smaller Renegade. It's certainly going to be lighter. It should be about 50 pounds, 50, 60 pounds lighter than the Outlander. Could help a little bit. But I will probably get a Gen 3 and then do some works or AZOP or something like that out here with it and try to develop it. I don't think we'll be doing GNCC next year. We might, but I'll start to develop that Renegade platform.
Do you think the frame? Well, okay, let me rephrase the question. One of the things that I heard is it's going to need some framework to make it durable enough and strong enough for GNCC. Do you think that you're going to have the same issues with the Gen 3 that they do back there?
I don't think so. We took a few, if we ran that thing in Baja, potentially. Up here in the States, we won't have a problem with it. Yeah, and what they're referring to is kind of that in the front end, Leonard, that those single shear points, on that front snub. Someone will come up with something, some reinforcement, some bracing there. I think that's a must. Now, I will say nobody, Rob Smith has had no problems so far. I think Travis Fleming is running a 700 in the B class so far. Nobody's had an issue with that. But I know in my head, I would want that strengthened up. And certainly when something comes out like that, we'll do it on the desert machine as well.
So you guys won't be developing your own kit, you're going to wait for somebody else like B&R to come out with a gusset setup for it, or one of the
Yeah,
other.
I think so. I'm not sure if we'll do something at Super ATV or not. They might have something in the works for that, but I'm sure that Rob and others are already down that. I'm guessing they're already down that road, and that'll be the biggest thing with developing that G3 platform for the woods or anything, is waiting for some of these aftermarket parts to come out. It's right now it's few and far between.
So how much different, in your opinion, in the Outlander platform from Gen 2 to Gen 3? What's your call on it? Is it that big of a difference?
I think it's apples and oranges, and it's another way we validated that is, Brian Buchanan, 8-time GNCC champion. He rode on the 1000 with us here this year. And he said the thing's amazing. He says it's 180 degrees different. And, there's some things that
Are you ready to be captivated by one of nature's masterpieces? Discover the breathtaking beauty of Antelope Slot Canyon, a natural wonder in Page, Arizona. Join us on a guided tour and immerse yourself in the mystical light beams, rich colors, and serene landscapes. With tours at prime sunbeam hours, experience photographer's paradise and capture memories that will last a lifetime. Comfortable shoes, a camera, and a smile are all you need for this adventure. Book your journey today at Antelope Slot Canyon Tours and let the canyon enchant you. Please visit us now, antelopeslotcanyon.com, for more details.
they'll need to get used to in the woods, for instance. When you're running a trailing arm suspension in those deep ruts, you're not getting any of that wheel scrub. The Gen 3, independent, you're gonna get some of that. But I think there's some huge advantages with the Gen 3 in cornering. You can pitch that thing sideways and just let it eat. My G2, I can, but it's still got a little bit of that roll. And unless you get that thing set up just right coming into the corner, it's still got that little bit of twitchiness in it. Whereas the Gen 3 is not going to have that.
I come from the sport quad industry. One of the things I noticed is it was more of a struggle for me to get it to drift. You can get them to drift, but I had to work at it to get it to drift. Where if I wanted to drive through the turns, that was no problem. One of the things that I tried to do was get it to give me the big drive around the sweeper with the rear tires, basically driving it with the rear end. And I couldn't do that. I could get it to drift a little bit, but it would be a four-wheel drift. And then the front wheels would pull it around.
Yeah, so that's what I noticed, when we're hitting 80 mile an hour plus on those roads and we're coming into some of those sweepers. I just didn't, that's why I want to widen it a little bit and drop it down a little bit. It was just a little twitchy. It was a little twitchy at that speed, as you can imagine. If we drop it down and widen it, we should be able to just eat right through all of that stuff. And I think that widening it a little bit is going to help us on some of the 2-track humped over stuff. I felt from time to time, like when we'd come down a wash, Leonard, and we're railing in, in some of those loose marbles, as I would call them, you'd have your tire laying down in the one groove, and I felt like if I had a couple more inches over to the other side, it would straddle that center section better. This one, we were constantly up on top of that bubble, so I think widening it would help quite a bit.
What's the width of the machine off the showroom floor?
It should be 50 inches even. So we'll just go to some +2 offset wheels and kick it out to 54.
There's no restrictions on width in the desert?
No, back in the day, I think Score has a 50 inch or 52 inch down there. I don't know that anyone's ever taken a tape measure to it. That new Scrambler, for instance, I ran that here a couple of years back, and that was 55, and loved the width on that thing.
Well, isn't there a national deal about width and what it is categorized as? And that's why the 50-inch rule came to be?
Yes, yeah, good point, Leonard. There's a lot, quite a few trail systems still. For instance, back east, if you go up into that New Hampshire area, Maine, and so forth, 50-inch trail restriction. So when you pull up to it, there's a couple of posts when you're entering the trail, and it's exactly 50 inches wide. So that's why a lot of the manufacturers stuck onto that point.
Well, good thing you don't go right here in Commie, California, because they put a bar across there, so you wheelie over it, and then they make it like 24 inches wide.
Jeez,
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. So the electric bicycle guys have figured it out, but or the mountain bike crowd has, but you're not. They call them horse trails, and I'm thinking,
Okay.
the horses tear it up worse than the mountain bikes ever thought of doing it. And the electric bikes, I'm not positive how much damage they're doing. Can't be any worse than a regular mountain bike.
Yep.
I mean, at least I don't think so. So let's get back a little bit more into you. Thank you for talking about the Gen 3, Gen 2 platform. It's always a fun conversation for me. ATV On Demand, they did me a huge solid by asking me to go ride that machine for them. They helped out ATV-TALK as well. So I had a lot of fun doing it, and I really enjoy talking about it. I'm still waiting for Can-Am to reach back out to me to let me get a California model to do some testing on out here. Maybe that'll happen this year. Who knows? But keep doing it and keep doing what you're doing on that machine, because it's a lot of fun. And anybody that's looking for a 4x4, go check out an Outlander Gen 3. I know they're expensive, but gosh, there's fun bikes to ride.
It's crazy where the technology has come. It's and again, I going to be doing some work on it tonight, and starting to get ready for that Cedar City race coming up. And it's just everything I mean, when you look how that thing was designed versus the Gen 2, Gen 2 is certainly simpler, but this is just light years ahead. I just see all positives in this machine.
Yeah, they did a lot of great work on it. I want to lighten things up and ask some questions about, your local favorite trails to ride.
Yeah, I do. There's so much around here to do it. I've got a couple of courses beat in that, anywhere from a 10-mile loop to a kind of a 3-mile sprint loop. And I'm fortunate that I can just put my gear on at home here and go. So I go up a standard wash quite a bit, Leonard, and then also down in that Parker area. And just a ton of free riding. We'll also do, anywhere from where we're at downtown here in Havasu all the way back up to I-40. That's a nice run up through there. That's a great 40-mile loop or 40-mile section for me to run. And the terrain is, I can go in smooth stuff. I can find the stuff that's beat up, just depending on what we're doing for that day, whether we're shock testing or whether we just want to get some good cardio training in.
So is it a group of you that go riding, or do you do a lot of this solo?
100% solo, which I know is not the safest thing, but I take it in reach, throw it in my backpack. The wife can see where I'm at, and it's all good.
Have you gotten into doing any of the like tour rides where you can go ride with your group? Maybe you get 4, 5, 6, 10 of those machines and you're all out riding together?
I haven't, Leonard. I've owned these dealerships for years, and still to this day, I've never bought a side by side. There's so much of that out here with the group rides. Like Anderson Power Sports will do these huge events. We help try to donate to them, as a business from Super ATV and get into it that way. I haven't done a lot of that. It's kind of the point where I'm around this stuff 24/7 all the time. And if I'm not racing, I'm working with the stuff. If there's more people riding ATVs out here, I definitely would go. Occasionally I'll go with some friends that have side-by-sides and tag along. And, we've got a couple of, you've got, the Bunker Bar and some of these other things that are out there. We'll run out there on a Sunday afternoon and talk to some enthusiasts and kind of just relax a bit. Do that once in a while.
That sounds like fun. What is your biggest race pre-ritual? Come on, dude.
I'd say it's like I'm if I'm not prepared like 2 weeks in advance, like everything's got to be in the garage. The spares need to be stacked. The fire extinguishers need to be there. We don't go racing. Fortunately, that's never happened. I'm not a last minute guy. All the prep work, I'd say in the desert, my biggest thing is no matter how many times I've tightened the lug nuts, Jeremy will laugh about this when I say this. I'm the second that thing's out of the truck at 4 a.m. at the start line, I got the torque wrench out, checking the lug nuts. So I'd say that's my biggest pre-race ritual. When I'm at GNCC, it's first thing I do when I get to the track in the morning is it's just lining everything out in the back of my rental car, triple checking to make sure my tear offs and my goggles are working with the roll offs on there. And I just lay everything out absolutely perfectly. So it's there. When it's time to go to the start line, I walk down and I put everything on in sequence, and I do it the same way every time.
That's, we're all a little crazy, and I get it. Got to put which boot on first.
Yep.
How do you put your gloves on? Well, I don't wear gloves, so I don't have that issue, but that's awesome. Hey, just rattle these answers off for me really quick. I don't want you to think about them. I just want you to just bang them out. Okay.
Yep.
What's your favorite trail snack?
Trail mix.
Okay. A dream race you've never done?
Dakar.
Really? They don't have ATVs there anymore.
I was signed up in 2015. The check was sent, approved, and backed out of it, of all things.
Oh, bummer.
Just wasn't comfortable with the training that I got on the road book, and my whole crew wasn't going over with me. Just didn't feel right. So that's literally probably the only thing I ever gave up on in my life, is that it just didn't feel right.
Bummer deal. I wish you would have done that. Most memorable finish?
I'd have to say a couple weeks ago, that Baja Nevada 1000. And second would be Ironman and the 1000.
So just so that everybody's clear, you won the longest race on U.S. soil, 1,000 miles on an ATV that Legacy just put on a couple weeks ago in the pro quad class, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure that's clear to everybody. A guy on a 4x4 beat all the sport ATVs. So all of us sport ATV guys can say anything we want, but that's a badass team right there. They're going to go out and beat everybody. Right?
Thanks.
No, dude,
Thanks.
I've seen what you can do. I've raced against you. I know how fast it is. So there's no slouch. I didn't catch it in the results. They had to tell me that you won, because the result sheet I got didn't have you as the winner. I don't know why, or maybe I read it wrong. But then when Brett made sure that I knew what the deal was. So, hats off to Brett for being an honorable guy.
Those guys are awesome.
Yeah, they're great dudes. They're really. Yeah. I don't know if you know about Brett and I's history.
I don't.
In 99, he was just a kid, and we were racing. Eichner was racing with Bielman in the pro quad class, and we had an engine issue, and my partner and I on a motorcycle had stopped and helped him, and I actually rebuilt the engine on the tailgate, put it back together, put it back in the quad, got him going again, and then we rode with the quad all the way to dark. Well, I didn't take a headlight for my bike because I just knew we were going to finish in the daytime. The ATV had a headlight, and we got to a point where I just told Steve, I can't see, go, you're not that far from the finish. So he took off to the finish line, and Brett's dad
who unfortunately recently has just passed away, Brett's dad gave me a jacket for his son who was stuck out in the desert. We had no idea where he was. So it just so happened we stopped like 20 feet from where he was, he was stopped. And it was pitch black. I can't see anything. I'm deciding on what am I going to do? And I'm just sitting there idling, and he walks up and goes, "Hey." I thought I was going to die because I couldn't see. I couldn't see my hand in front of my face. It was that dark. So we got our bikes together, got some gas out of the one of the machines, started a fire, and sat out in the desert till the best in the desert officials came and picked us up. So that's how Brett Greenholtz and I got to become friends.
We got it. Okay.
Yeah, it's a great story. I mean,
It is.
I've talked to the kid. I call him a kid. He's a grown man now, but he's still a kid to me. But I've been talking with him off and on for a number of years. It's
What were they racing back then? What machine?
We were on 250Rs.
Okay.
Eichner was on a Lobo, and he was just I believe he was just on a regular 250R because none of the 4-stroke stuff had been competitive at that point. So it was all still the 2-stroke stuff.
I love it. Almost at every GNCC, Leonard, I'm always walking around just talking with people at the start line as you're waiting there and staging. And at almost every race, there's a couple people out there on 2-strokes. Like there's a guy out there in a Banshee, I think at the Tennessee round. And then some guys out there in a 500 Quadzilla, just running that thing through the trees, and props to them. I couldn't do it. It's amazing that they can run those things.
Back in the day, we built a couple LT 500s just for GNCC.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Unbelievable, right?
Yep.
Good
Hey, stuff.
Don, if we're gonna talk to young riders or racers, male, female, whatever it is, that are getting into the sport, what's some advice that you could give them to help advance their program and keep them motivated, maybe when they're not doing as good as they think they should?
Yeah, it's I would have to say with building these machines, you don't have to get crazy to start off with, because you can really throw a lot of money at this and break the bank, and it's really not needed to start out in some of the beginner type classes as you're getting your feet wet. And find out what works along the way, again, without just throwing a bunch of money at it. Preparation and determination, I think those are the key pieces to anything. Be prepared, make sure your equipment is working in good order all the time, and have it done, like I said, way ahead of time, not rushing at the end. And then the determination part, it's really easy to get discouraged. I'll say it for myself this year, going back to GNCC, it's been 10 years since I've done it. It's changed. People have gotten faster. I've gotten a little slower. Still running second in points, but back in the day, I wasn't used to getting a bunch of 5th places. We've gotten on the podium a couple times this year. But worry about being just consistent. Determination, being as consistent as you can. You got to finish to be up on that box. And a lot of things can happen out there. There's times that, if you're back there cross country racing, you might find yourself in 10th, 12th place. And the next lap, you might find yourself in 5th place. A lot of different variables that go into it. And never give up. I think of programs like ours. I think about Brett and Elijah. Those guys are relentless. We're relentless. We're just never going to give up. We're going to get that thing to the finish line. And if you condition yourself like that, it's everything else seems easy around you. I think this game now, to be competitive, the fitness thing is such a big portion of it. To be in shape, to be able to run those two-hour stretches at a time. Again, that goes back to being prepared. Be prepared in every part of your program.
What is something that you do as far as your training regimen?
It's a lot of road cycling, a ton of road cycling. The thing I don't get as much time on is practice on the machine. That's something that I wish I could do a little bit more of, or I need to do a little bit more of. And I think back to the years when I do that, I'm definitely sharper out there. But road cycling and stuff for your core, that's pretty much what I've got it narrowed down to, and that seems to do the trick.
Well, at 57 years old, you're still kicking butt and doing a great job. Keep up the good work. Keep developing those machines. Don, I just want to let you know, every Tuesday we have an audio show that drops at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. We also have a live Instagram show at 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time on Wednesdays. This week will be Chloe Harper, which will be probably a few weeks ago at this point when your episode airs. And we also have the morning show. It's 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's a live YouTube show. It's an industry show where we talk about motorsports in general. Most of the time we're talking about ATVs, but occasionally you'll see me talk about F1, MotoGP, outdoor motocross, something like that. So we'd like to keep it open because we are motorsports lovers. I'm not just fixated on only ATVs like some people, but hey, ATVs have gotten me where I am. So I do focus most of my time on ATVs. So as an industry show, dude, I'd love to have representation from Can-Am or any of the companies that you think would be acceptable or would want to come on the show and talk about the industry, because it's an industry show. We want to find out what the pulse is out there and what's going on to help bring more people, A, to the ATV sport, and B, to the racing side.
Yeah, I would, Leonard, I'll raise my hand. I'd love to come on it from the industry side of stuff and give you the industry experience and stuff that's going on out there these days. I'm in it every day. Would love to come on there and talk industry.
Well, we'll definitely have to text back and forth and get you set up for an industry show and go from there.
Sounds good.
All right, sir. Hey, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out to come on the show. I really appreciate it. Don, you're one of the competitors that I think people should look up to, doing it as long as you have on a machine that people are probably telling you, oh, you shouldn't ride that. But you keep riding them because you're making them look really good. And you guys are doing a lot of great work for the 4x4 industry.
Hello, I'm your host, Leonard Duncan. Welcome to a new episode of ATV-TALK and Motorsports Podcast. Please join us every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We bring you interviews with industry professionals, live events, live news about the motorsports industry in every episode. Enjoy the show.